The gentle hum of the ceiling fan filled Emma's diner, casting flickering shadows over half-eaten plates, and the stale scent of burnt coffee mingled with thoughts of the recent combat at Twin Peaks. At a battered table, Trevor Butler drummed his fingers, surrounded by weary faces, Bobby with disheveled hair, Harry nursing a cold cup, each haunted by recent horrors. "Gather around," Trevor said, voice low but steady. "We need to talk about the Twin Peaks raid." Silence fell as Anthony's gaze flicked to the scarred corner where they'd uncovered the Guardian's truth. Harrison spoke first. "I saw real fear in those raiders when that juvenile walker turned inward. It felt almost intentional." Trevor frowned. "And the contract, targeting kids with AB-negative blood? That's insane. What the hell is going on?" Gustav, voice rough with experience, added, "We took down a few raiders, but we still know little about these Guardians and their reach. That contract makes them far more dangerous." Harry's tone grew brusque. "We have to adapt and stay cautious." Trevor outlined the plan, split into two teams. One scouts the southeastern road toward Amicalola for traces of the Guardians and potential strike points. The other scrounges town for supplies and repairs the radio. Bob Brown's eyes lit up. "Harry and I can search for nitrate fertilizer and battery acid, maybe rig something explosive." Sheila and Kylie exchanged determined looks. "We'll hold down the potato plot," Sheila said. "I may have run a shop, but I can also garden too." They gathered knives, ammo, and whatever else mattered. Trevor caught Amy's steady glance, a quiet promise of support amid her own uncertainty with Carlos. "Watch each other," Trevor urged. "Stay alert," Gustav echoed. They pushed open the diner door and stepped into a dawn rife with danger and possibility. They rolled down the southeastern road to Amicalola, the pickup bouncing over cracked asphalt and weeds. Inside, Nordberg drove in tense silence, Amy, Mrs. Harper, and Mirabello in the back, haunted by old betrayals and losses. Every bump recalled past bloodshed. After a few hours, Nordberg spotted a rocky clearing. "Let's take a look," he said. They disembarked, weapons at the ready, Bobby and Gustav scouting ahead. Faint laughter drifted on the breeze, too casual for this world. Up ahead, two scruffy men in worn denim hunkered over an elk carcass. "Just hunters," Trevor noted. Amy's heart lurched. "They're not just hunters, I know them." At her signal, the men turned. "Amy!" one exclaimed. "Is it really you? We thought you all died in a plane crash when you never returned," the other added, studying her. Her smile wavered. "Yeah, been a while, guys. This is Randy and Sven, our hunters from Jasper." Randy joked about Clint and the plane, but joy died in his eyes. Amy's voice hardened. "Carlos killed him, but only after Clint tried to kill Carlos. It was messy. I'd been sleeping with Clint and he tried to run off with me, and God, he faked the plane crash to get Carlos killed. It was all too much." Randy and Sven froze. "Bugger me, I never liked him," Sven muttered. "Stuck-up pilot arsehole is all he was. The man was batshit crazy," Randy said. Nordberg stepped forward. "Yeah, very touching. Any military-type patrols coming through here at all?" "Yep, once a week. Don't know who they are, but they look important," Randy replied. "Heard gunshots further up the road this morning, so be careful. Some real arseholes getting around lately," he added. "Thanks," Nordberg said, face grim. Amy exchanged a loaded glance with the two men, grim allies against the wasteland. "I'm working things out with Carlos, or trying to. I still love that big jughead Texican. We'll be back to Jasper in a few weeks, hopefully." Sven and Randy nod and get back to their carcass. The party climbed back in and moved on. The road ahead still fraught, but the encounter had steeled them. Survival demanded they keep going. Now, with prior warning of distant gunshots, they park up the road and move on foot to further investigate. "Wonder if it's our Guardians. Definitely need to check it out. Could be raiders or someone in trouble." Amy, fear in her voice, adds, "There might be survivors." Nordberg nods. "We need to move quickly. I'll lead. No unplanned firefights." They traverse a debris-strewn road of rusted, upturned vehicles, memories of better days hanging in the silence. As they near the sound, reggae music drifts through the air alongside the strong scent of marijuana. "Rastafarians?" Nordberg frowns. "These bandits might be my kind of people. I'll try talk to them." Confidently, he steps forward. Emerging from cover, Nordberg raises his hands. "Hey, my brothers!" The armed men meet him with narrowed eyes and hostile shouts. One bandit yells at him with a thick Caribbean accent, "Who be there, my man? You want to be a-dying today?" A Upon noticing the imminent threat, the group on overwatch sprang into action, their rifles erupting in a cacophony of gunfire. Two bandits dropped instantly, one crumpling lifelessly onto the dusty road, the other slumping beside a hedge, as dark crimson spread across the sun-baked grass like an ink stain. Nordberg urgently shouted, "Hold fire, let me talk," his voice carrying a note of desperation. However, the last Rastafarian, his face twisted with defiance, spat back, "Come on and get me, you bastards." He squeezed the trigger, bullets whizzing through the air as Nordberg instinctively ducked. In a rapid and intense exchange of firepower, the final gunman was struck, toppling from the shattered remnants of a building into a heap of crumbling rubble. Silence settles, broken only by the acrid scent of spent rounds. The group stands over the fallen, the weight of their actions pressing down. Amy whispers, "They should have just let us pass." Nordberg, staring at the bodies, answers softly, "They asked for it." Amy stepped over the bodies of fallen bandits. "This was their home." "Home or trap?" Nordberg replied. They moved through the wrecked street corner, alert to every creak and shadow. Inside the crumbling building, damp wood and ash hung in the air. Trevor's flashlight lit a cable weaving through shattered beams. At its end lay a dust-covered claymore. Anthony knelt beside it. "This will come in handy?" "Abso-bloody-lutely," Gustav said as he methodically began dismantling the claymore. Upstairs, Nordberg found an intact mobile radio. "This could connect us if we can get that other radio working," he breathed. Trevor nodded, imagining contact with other survivors. Remarkably, Amy pulled a sniper rifle from the debris. Holy shit, they never expected this to be found. Amid reggae posters and military gear, they wondered if the bandits had always been monsters or had necessity made it that way. Gustav knelt in the road's center, eyes fixed on the claymore. "I can dismantle this. Everyone else, stay alert." Anxiety thrummed as he worked. The others fanned out, scanning the gloom. "This could have killed us," Trevor muttered. "Quiet," Nordberg warned. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, a car engine roared. A four-door utility hurtled toward them at high speed. "Gustav!" Anthony hissed. "They're not stopping!" Amy, who was up on the second story with her newly found sniper rifle, took aim. "I see them, one male and one female, ready to fire." She squeezed the trigger. The bullet pinged off the window. The driver swerved, nearly hitting Gustav before veering off course. The group opened fire. Metal ricocheted, tires screeched, and the vehicle crashed into a barricade 30 yards up the road. They closed in, weapons trained on two shaken occupants, who raised trembling hands. "I'm Rooster, that's Rebecca. We're not here to fight," the driver called. "We're running from a hostile group," Rebecca added. "Please, we just want to escape." "Sure," Trevor said skeptically, arms crossed. "You could have been raiders." Rooster shook his head. "They chased us. We didn't mean trouble." Nordberg studied them quietly. "This complicates things." Amy frowned. "If we let them go, they could be aligned to anybody." Trevor's voice was firm. "You stay with us until we decide." They bound Rooster and Rebecca and led them from the wreck. Under the bruised sky, mistrust settled like dust. Another test in their fight to survive. The group packed the radio, weapons, claymore, and other supplies. "We'll do this smarter," Nordberg vowed. Stepping into the street, "Now we must find a location to set up an ambush." Onwards they drove. They neared the Amicalola forest. The trees loomed like a fortress, tension coiling with every step. "We need to hit these guardians good and proper," Nordberg said, scanning the woods. "They'll be coming, though, within the week," Trevor agreed. "They are too heavily armed for us to fuck this up." Memories of the mall and the children's fate sharpened their focus. Gustav eyed Rooster and Rebecca warily. "They're untested," he muttered. "Everyone here has blood on their hands," Nordberg replied. "We'll deal with trust later." At a rocky T-junction, Nordberg smiled. "Ideal ambush site, high ground both sides." Anthony pointed out positions. Gustav scanned the area looking for kill zones and choke points, not to mention a location for their newly acquired claymore. Trevor said, "We'll need guns here on the high ground and some hidden in the brush." Gustav warned, "We'll need eyes on each other." "No mercy when it comes down to it," Nordberg declared, "but we want Chesterton alive." Nodding to each other that this was the site, they slipped back to Emma's diner to put the final plan together. Helmut trudged through ruined Elige, ghostly echoes of its past trailing his team. Broken streets and graffiti whispered of desperation. Shattered windows glinted beneath a pale sky. Then a lone figure emerged, pushing a trolley piled with wires and circuit boards. "Caleb Rubenstein, trader," he called. Helmut's German accent made Caleb recoil. "Not to your type, bloody German," he snapped. Peter stepped forward, offering 2 weeks' worth of medical supplies for radio parts. Caleb hesitated, then admitted his wife was gravely ill. They struck the deal. Suddenly 2 drunken revelers, one in a stained chef's coat, the other in a wrinkled waistcoat, staggered on a nearby rooftop, hurling empty bottles and shouting mockery. Their raucous laughter shattered the silence and drew shambling walkers from the deserted streets below. "We have to go," Helmut barked. The team tossed radio parts into bags and grabbed Caleb's trolley. With the groans of the undead growing louder, they sprinted through crumbling alleys, the chef and waiter's absurd tirade echoing behind them. Bursting past the town center, they reached the forest's edge and finally paused, breaths ragged. Helmut scanned the pursuing horde, then turned to his team. "No lingering, back to Emma's diner with these parts for Archer." The diner buzzed softly with laughter and chatter, the walls soaking up warmth from shared stories. Sheila Barboza clung tightly to her daughter Janie, their tears mingling with smiles as they emerged from an embrace, buoyed by the day's promising successes. A rare slice of humanity amid decay and despair. Across the room, the rest of the group melted into this tapestry of resilience, sharing food and life while the world outside continued to fall apart. Helmut stepped inside, his once fragile frame now held with a steadier confidence. He exchanged glances with Milton, whose hardened gaze softened momentarily as he witnessed the tender scene unfolding. Trepidation slipped into the shadows of the diner, replaced by something more tangible, a fleeting warmth, a hint of hope amid their fractured lives. They each saw the other just for a moment as the hunter and the haunted spirit began to dissolve into companions united by survival. "How about some elk stew?" Sheila offered as she ladled generous portions into battered bowls. The steam curled upward, fragrant and inviting, momentarily masking the bittersweet scent of fear and uncertainty that clung to them all. As they took their seats, the group gathered around the rough-hewn table, reclaiming lost time as hands gripped forks like lifelines. "It's more than a meal," Milton declared, his voice soft but resonant, as if channeling the solemn spirit of those they had lost. "It's a moment, a reminder of who we are together." Around the table, shoulders relaxed slightly, guards dropped for just an evening as they passed bowls and filled plates, laughter chiming like distant bells before the inevitable evening shadows rolled in. Helmut cleared his throat, punctuating the merriment with a story. "Today, we met a trader, an eccentric fellow. You would have liked him, Bobby. Swapped medical supplies for electrical components." He paused, grinning at the memory. "Then came the best part. A pair of drunken French restaurateurs chased us out of town. I think they thought we were going to steal from them or something. Picture that." His arms widened, painting an image of his frantic flight. Laughter erupted. Bobby nearly doubled over, nearly spilling his stew as the room brightened with memories of the absurd. Kylie smiled. She'd not seen him laugh in a while. Then Norberg joined in. "We bumped into a couple of guys named Randy and Sven from Jasper. Amy broke the ice, they knew her, and they offered intel about a potential ambush site for those Guardians. Apparently the elevation gives you a straight shot for a mile. Just need to lure them out." He trailed off, winking. Hope shimmered as they envisioned possibilities. His words grew wings, soaring high as dreams that flickered just above their weary heads. Across the table, Bobby nodded. "Those hunters would be handy allies, knowing how to lay traps and all." Every voice added weight to the plan, infusing it with their convictions and fears. Outside, the stars danced, twinkling shadows through the diner's filthy windows. A sudden rattle at the door broke their moment of laughter. Harry and Bob Brown pushed through, flushed and exhilarated, clutching bags of nitrate fertilizer, wires and battery acid. "Tell me we have a stash to work with," Harry called, raising the bulging bags like trophies. Cheers erupted at their entrance. Even as the weight of grim realities pulled at their spirit, hope shimmered, suspending them, drawing them together. "We came up aces today," Bob declared, and the group erupted in unison as he detailed their findings. "Found everything we needed and a bit more. It might give us the edge we've been searching for." Each word fell like warm rain on parched soil. Moments stretched. Life breathed as they carried one another's spirits. When the last of the elk stew disappeared, laughter and conversation swirled like smoke, weaving dreams into the fabric of their lives. As plates were cleared, they exchanged glances of acknowledgement. It had been a good day so far. Anthony drew a deep breath. I've been researching the documents we found. The juvenile walker at Twin Peaks isn't random. It's a mutation called Hafner's syndrome. It strikes 12 to 15-year-olds with AB-negative blood when puberty hormones are triggered during a 2 to 8 week transformation window. If aligned, they develop into these monsters. Males become hyper-aggressive and fast, but not very smart, and females more cunning, who hunt in pairs and outmaneuver prey. AB-negative teens number about 5 million worldwide and anywhere from 1,750 to 17,500 in the US. The Guardians in Dawsonville have 12 to 15 of these juveniles in captivity, experimenting to build perfect soldiers. Their last shipment of AB-negative kids included a Toby. Trevor's heart clenched. Toby might be among them. He wasn't the boy's biological father, but he'd vowed to Janelle to protect him. Bobby's voice was low and fierce. We'll do whatever it takes to get Toby back. Nordberg and Harrison nodded. Plans were made for an ambush and to task Archer with radio reconnaissance. Night fell. They steeled themselves for the fight ahead. It was 2:30 a.m. when Amy woke to a muffled gasp. Slipping from her bunk into the chill, she followed the sound to Janie Barbosa's mattress. Janie lay cocooned in blankets, her skin ashen, veins swollen, twitching like something inhuman. Beside her, Sheila Barbosa lay dead, grey and motionless. Horror crystallized in Amy's chest. Janie was turning. With a trembling hand, she claimed a knife and silenced the girl's final breath. Then, tears blurring her vision, she pressed the blade into Sheila's skull. Mercy, she told herself, to stop the inevitable. Her scream roused the others. Get back, they're turning. Janie, Sheila! Panic propelled her down the hall to the Harpers' room. Inside, Mrs. Harper lay still. Mr. Harper jolted awake to find Amy's blood-slick knife. In an instant, they grappled, desperate, terrified, until Harrison and Nordberg burst in, weapons drawn, pulling them apart. From the corridor came Peter Holland's crushed voice. My God, Kylie's dead, she's dead. The small group gathered around 4 bodies strewn across the dim hallway, lips stained dark, eyes wide and unseeing. Nordberg crouched beside them. They looked poisoned, he whispered. Silence fell, heavy with betrayal. Among the living, trust had fractured, and a darker threat than the undead now walked their camp. Helmut stood by the makeshift sleeping area, brow furrowed. He and Anthony spotted a small vial rolling across the floor. Near Helmut's boot, it glinted in the dim light. Kneeling, Helmut's fingers trembled as he read the label. Synthetic tetrodotoxin grade A1. This is bad, he said hollowly. Man-made variant of pufferfish venom, paralysis and organ failure in under 60 minutes. Anthony's face darkened. Paralysis, then death? Why? Helmut shook his head. No explanation fits. Murder, suicide, or a killer among us? Peter Holland stumbled in, pale and shaking. Kylie, why kill her? She never hurt anyone. His whisper cut through them. Helmut lifted the vial, grief twisting his chest. They gathered in mourning for Kylie, Sheila, Janie, Mrs. Harper's. 4 lives ended without warning. Mr. Harper and Peter sank to their knees, overcome. The rest offered what comfort they could. Helmut watched Peter clutch Kylie's hand. She lay lifeless and pale. Anguish and rage closed in. Bobby Volante spoke softly. We have to bury them. Show them respect. Together they carried the bodies to shallow graves behind the shelter. Each step felt laden with sorrow. In silence they dug and laid the wife, daughter, mother and friend into the earth. Exhausted, they returned inside and set double watches as night fell. Shadows pressed against the walls and uncertainty clung to them. Tomorrow might bring answers, but tonight they huddled in fear, wondering how long they could endure this betrayal and loss. Dawn light crept through the makeshift barricades as they stirred from a shattered night, the air thick with the acrid taste of violence and paranoia. Amy sat up on her cot, heart pounding at the memory of blood and unanswered questions. Was a murderer among them? She glanced at Harrison, curled in on himself, and at Bob, who struck a match with a silent nod, worry etched deep in his weathered face. Milton opened his eyes next, gravelly and guarded. Another day alive, let's hope for answers, Milton muttered. Or more questions, Amy countered, scanning each face for signs of guilt. Harrison rubbed his jaw. We've survived this long, let's not turn on each other. Archer stood, eyes bright under the dull diner light. The radio's fixed. Time to call the Guardians and set up a meet. They huddled around the repaired set. Trevor swallowed his nerves, gripped the mic and keyed the transmitter. Static crackled, then a harsh voice. "Get it together, Goon Brigade. Cyrus should have killed you all." Trevor forced calm. "Juno LaRocque's here. We've secured the juvenile walker. You'll need it." The operator snarled. "You want support? Be specific." "We can't contain it. Either you come get it or we kill it," Trevor said, risking everything. After a tense pause. "Fine. We'll be there Wednesday at noon. Harm the walker, you're dead." Trevor cut the line, breath ragged. They now had a time and a place, but walked into an ambush. "We know what's at stake," Archer said. "Let's do it." Amy met Trevor's gaze. "We must trust each other and watch each other's backs." They nodded, unified by dread and determination. It was time to fight, find out who was behind it all, and survive. Dawn split the barren landscape as Bob Brown, Harry Tagilla, and the rest crested the ridge above a T-junction rigged for an ambush. Bob knelt by the road, assembling a claymore. Harry ran wires from an IED. Around them, Milton Nordberg, Amy, Carlos, and Trevor spread out among rocks and crumbling walls, each haunted by the children they'd vowed to save. Trevor pointed out choke points. "We catch them in crossfire, but keep Chesterton alive." Silence fell. Grief and resolve coalesced in every breath. Bobby waved a lone granola bar. "Rations for our little feast," he joked, drawing strained smiles before they slipped back into hiding. A distant rumble grew into an engine roar. A 4x4 utility led the convoy, followed by a truck and another utility with a mounted .50 caliber gun heading straight toward the trap. "Now!" Trevor hissed. Bob and Harry detonated the IED. A blinding explosion shredded the lead vehicle. Shrapnel tore into its occupants. The survivors surged from cover, guns blazing. Chaos erupted. Steel twisted. Men screamed. Bullets sang with vengeance. Then the walkers came, drawn by gunfire. 20, 50, hundreds spilling from the woods. Peter Holland darted off with firecrackers, hoping to lure them away. Moments later, he was gone, swallowed by trees and grazing jaws below. Back at the ambush, the Guardians' formation collapsed. Two vehicles lurched off the road, bodies slumped at the wheel. When the smoke cleared, only the truck driver, trembling behind the wheel, and Darrell Chesterton crawled free. They dropped to their knees as the survivors closed in, weapons trained on them. Silence reasserted itself, heavy with what had just transpired, and what must come next. The group stood amid twisted metal and fresh corpses, their faces hard with the knowledge that revenge had come at a steep price. Now they would learn what Chesterton knew. To be continued. This episode, the group conducted multiple scout and scavenge runs and had great success finding nitrate fertilizer, battery acid, radio components, and assorted items. The main group discovered some Rastafarian bandits and an ambush point for the Guardians, while the other group was chased out of Ellijay by a drunken chef and waiter after meeting an eccentric trader called Caleb Rubenstein. Anthony disclosed that from the papers from Twin Peaks, he revealed the juvenile walkers are what's called Hafnan syndrome and that the Guardians are held up in Dawsonville in an underground medical facility. He advised that on their last list, there was a Toby. That evening, 4 members of the group were poisoned in their sleep, not knowing if murder-suicide or if a murderer was among them still. With the radio repaired, they impersonated Juno LaRocque, the Goon Brigade leader, and convinced the Guardians to come get the juvenile walker, who they ambushed and captured Dr. Darrell Chesterton and a young army driver. Their mission now? To raid the laboratory and rescue Toby or die trying. Thanks for watching. To be continued.